A few months ago, Alcatel presented the stylus-equipped OneTouch Hero, and we finally had the chance to test out this massive 6-inch phablet. The gorgeous 1080p IPS display is definitely the highlight of the Hero, but coming underneath is also some non-too-shabby hardware like a quad-core MediaTek chipset, healthy 2GB of RAM, a 13-megapixel camera, and 2 SIM slots. These are some compelling specs on paper, ones that put this device in the higher-end phablet league. But just how well do these translate into the real world? This is Chris with Phone Arena, and it's time for us to find out. Alcatel has managed to work a little miracle with the proportions of the OneTouch Hero. Handling the phablet is both easy and pleasant thanks to its masterfully crafted body and super slim bezels. The latest slew of devices from the manufacturer showcase some time-tested, almost refined design language. The OneTouch Hero in particular looks distinguished and leaves no room for doubt. This is a high-end product. What strikes us most about the Hero is that its creators have managed such a masterful balance with its body. The Hero is giant, yet also kind of compact, thanks to those slim bezels all around. And though it appears brutish when put next to a 5-incher, its sheer size has an elegant quality to it, and it's actually pretty slender at 0.33 inches. But this phablet is not just good looking, it's also well crafted. Accents such as the stylus slot at the bottom, the power and volume buttons on the side, or the camera ring and the speaker at the back were all built to last and do not disappoint in any way. The matte plastic rear and the frame itself are grippy, and the device makes its presence known thanks to its 6.26 ounces. And yet there's more, especially once we throw in the Magic Flip cover into the equation. The Magic Flip easily attaches itself to the phone via the magnetic pinholes at the back and offers some pretty cool functionality. The case has built-in LEDs that will show you the time or any missed calls, messages or emails. In fact, it will even run an animated show whenever you have music playing or your alarm is ringing. A 6-inch 1080p IPS screen leaves very little to desire, especially when it's shown in its full glory, meaning no pesky on-screen navigation buttons and a near bezel-less frame. It would be fair to say that the Alcatel OneTouch Hero is all display at the front, and what a captivating panel that is. It is sharp, bright, and has great and accurate color reproduction. However, whites have a bluish tinge to them as the core temperature is actually on the cold side. Lastly, the screen can be pretty bright with a peak brightness of nearly 500 nits, so outdoor visibility is also pretty great. The version of Android 4.22 Jelly Bean found running on the OneTouch Hero is miles away from Google's idea of a clean and minimalistic UI. The software is definitely very functional, but is also very heavy on the hardware. It goes without saying that the lock screen is of a custom make, featuring shortcuts to the dialer, messaging and the camera. This being one of Alcatel's fanciest models available, it's also been loaded with a bunch of proprietary apps. These include a tiny Alcatel App Store with less than 20 apps available, a note-taking app best used in unison with the stylus, and even a pretty interesting Ultimate Saver app that strips down your phone of all non-essential functionality, leaving you with little more than the option to place and receive calls and send messages. The OneTouch Hero has slots for 2 microSIM cards. The dual SIM software is actually very well made, allowing you to easily switch between and manage the 2 SIMs. Unfortunately, we're looking at a dual standby arrangement, meaning that whenever you're on a call on the first one, the second one will appear as offline. The brain under the Hero's stylish exterior is a 1.5 GHz quad-core MediaTek processor coupled with a healthy dose of 2 GB of RAM. We've got to admit that we were kind of let down by the chipset found on board, so keep in mind the following. For starters, the UI sometimes stutters until it has been cached into the memory, and super graphics intensive games like Asphalt 8 don't exactly run smoothly either. Regardless, we can't help but point a finger at Alcatel too. This is not the first time we're testing this chip, and it sure held its ground better in the past. In other words, the ostentatious interface sure is quite heavy and just feels poorly optimized. There's an interesting discrepancy with MediaTek chipsets. They can't quite compare with Qualcomm's highest-end solutions when it comes to graphics, yet browsing is something they seem to handle quite well. To that end, the surfing experience on the 6-inch Alcatel OneTouch Hero is quite enjoyable and isn't riddled with lag. On the connectivity end, the usual lineup is obviously present. We're talking Bluetooth 4.0, assisted GPS and NFC, but there is no 4G LTE radio to be found unfortunately. True to its high-end ambitions, the Alcatel OneTouch Hero packs a 13-megapixel camera with an LED flash and autofocus capabilities. The camera interface itself is very pleasant to use as its full screen and controls are simplistic. HDR and panoramic modes are both available and the end results are pretty satisfactory. Unfortunately, speediness is not among the qualities of the shooter, as it's average at best under the default settings and downright slow when taking HDR snaps. Speaking of snaps, those come out in great detail. Images are rather soft but look very natural. Exposure and colors are also very natural and pretty accurate. Better yet, the Hero takes pictures of decent quality even in very low light situations, though its LED flash can't quite illuminate much of the scene. When it comes to playing multimedia content, the Alcatel OneTouch Hero is downright awesome. Simply put, video playback is top notch thanks to the versatile chipset, but mostly the giant 6-inch display. The screen is so immersive that you quickly forget that you're looking at your favorite movie on a pocket-sized device. Best of all, the simplistic but sturdy built-in multimedia apps do the job just fine, so a trip to the Play Store is a matter of choice. In terms of audio reproduction, we had no complaints. Sound fidelity is decent and the mono speaker is actually pretty loud without causing nasty distortions. Call quality on the Hero surprised us. We go through quite a few phones every month, and a very significant portion of those run into the same type of problems. We're talking hollow voices, low volumes, interferences and whatnot. But not the OneTouch Hero. The speaker is actually very loud and voices are transmitted very pleasantly without noticeable distortions, and this goes in both ways, as contacts reported hearing us just as well. The combination of a 3400 mAh cell and frugal Cortex A7 cores translated into some downright impressive battery life. The Alcatel OneTouch Hero managed to hold its ground for the whopping 8 hours and 11 minutes in our custom test that simulates real-life usage with no break. With a score like that, the Hero is actually second to none, at least when it comes to 1080p resolutions. In other words, it can actually last for up to 3 days. Looking back at the time spent with the Alcatel OneTouch Hero, we can't help but admit that it showed great promise from the very beginning. This is a device that exhibits some really impressive qualities, ones that could easily put it at the very top of the phablet food chain. The display is just awesome and the body is well crafted and truly compact. The camera is on par with even more premium solutions out there, and both call quality and battery life are equally top notch. The software is inviting, and in combination with the Magic Flip cover, give the Alcatel OneTouch Hero a real character. Unfortunately, that very same software feels poorly optimized and the MediaTek chipset just couldn't keep up. That's a pity, as this is perhaps the one thing that felt very wrong about the Hero. Overall, and with the underpowered chip aside, the Alcatel OneTouch Hero is an excellent phablet that can rival far more expensive models. Once again, this was Chris with Phone Arena, thank you for tuning in.